Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Easy English Conversations. I am Mia, and as always, I am sitting here in our cozy studio with my wonderful co-host and friend, Ryan.
Hello, Mia, and a huge warm welcome to all of our listeners joining us from every corner of the world today. I am truly happy to be here with you all once again.
Today, we have a very special and incredibly helpful topic for you. We are going to explore 5 common English mistakes that almost every learner makes at some point on their journey.
That is right. These are small, natural grammar slip-ups that can accidentally make you sound a little non-native, even when your overall English vocabulary is already quite strong.
The great news is that once you understand why these mistakes happen, fixing them becomes wonderfully easy and surprisingly fun. We are going to guide you through each one today.
To make these lessons easy to remember, Mia and I are going to share some funny, relatable stories from our own real-life experiences with language learning and everyday conversations.
Learning a new language is always a long, beautiful journey filled with small misunderstandings and valuable lessons. You should never feel embarrassed or nervous when you make a mistake.
Absolutely, Mia. Even native English speakers mess up their grammar or choose the wrong words from time to time, especially when they are talking fast or feeling tired.
So sit back, grab a comfortable chair, maybe sip on a warm cup of coffee or tea, and let us dive straight into our very first common English mistake.
Mistake number 1 is something we hear almost every day from students around the world. It is the classic mistake people make when they talk about their age.
Yes, this one is so common. Many learners say, I have 25 years, or I have 30 years old, instead of using the correct English phrase, I am 25 years old.
It makes total sense why people say this, because in languages like Spanish, French, Italian, and Portuguese, you literally possess your years using the verb to have.
I remember when I lived in Madrid for 6 months to improve my Spanish. On my first week there, I tried telling my new landlord my age in Spanish using the English structure.
Oh, really, Mia? What did you say to your landlord back then? Did you use the verb to be instead of to have in Spanish?
I did. I directly translated from English and said the Spanish equivalent of, I am 24 years old. He looked at me with a polite, confused smile and corrected me immediately.
He told you that in Spanish, you have years, right? It goes both ways. Foreign learners of English bring that exact same habit over into their English conversations.
Exactly. When I moved back home and began teaching, my international students would often walk up to me and say, Mia, today is my birthday. I have 22 years now.
I had a student named Lucas from Brazil who did the exact same thing. On his birthday, he brought this huge, delicious homemade brigadeiro cake to our morning class.
Oh, brigadeiro cake is unbelievable. Did he share it with the whole class before or after the lesson?
He shared it right away. He stood up proudly in front of everyone, raised his paper plate, and announced loudly, Everyone, please eat cake with me. Today I have 28 years.
That is such a sweet story. Did you gently correct him after everyone finished enjoying their slice of cake?
Of course. While we were wiping the chocolate crumbs off our hands, I told him, Lucas, in English, age is not something you carry in your pocket. It is a state of being.
That is such a clear way to explain it. In English, age describes who you are right now. So we always use the verb to be, such as I am, you are, or she is.
So you can say, I am 28 years old, or you can simply say, I am 28. Both options sound completely natural and native to any listener.
Let us practice that out loud together right now. Listeners, say this with us slowly. I am 20 years old. I am 35 years old. I am 50 years old. I am 50 years old.
Great job. Whenever you speak about age, just remember that you are your age in English. You never have it like a physical object.
Now, let us move smoothly on to mistake number 2. This mistake involves the common verb explain, and it trips up even advanced speakers all the time.
Oh, I hear this one constantly. People frequently say, Can you explain me this concept? Or please explain me how to get to the train station.
It sounds very natural to non-native speakers because other English verbs like tell or give work that way. For example, you can say, give me the book or tell me a story.
Right. With verbs like give, show, or tell, The person comes directly after the verb without any preposition in between. But explain follows a completely different grammatical pattern.
I remember working at my very first office job several years ago. I worked in marketing, and we had a wonderful graphic designer from Rome named Marco.
Marco sounds like a great colleague. What happened when you two were working on a project together?
Well, one afternoon, we were reviewing a complex software manual. Marco walked over to my desk holding a printed report, pointed at a page, and asked, "Mia, can you explain me this step?"
It sounds so logical when you say it like that, but in English the verb explain requires the preposition to before the person receiving the explanation.
Precisely. You must always explain something to someone. So Marco should have said, "Can you explain this step to me?" Or "Can you explain this to me?"
I always tell my students to picture sending a package in the mail. You are sending information from your brain to another person's brain, so you need that word too.
That is such a fantastic mental image, Ryan. When Marco learned this rule, he laughed, grabbed a bright yellow sticky note, and wrote "explain to me" in bold black letters.
Sticky notes are such a simple yet powerful tool for fixing persistent grammar mistakes. I used to stick them on my bathroom mirror when I was studying secondary languages.
So, dear listeners, whenever you ask for help understanding something, remember the magic preposition. Please explain this rule to me. Never drop the word to.
That brings us right to mistake number 3, which involves two sensory verbs that people frequently mix up or misuse: listen and hear.
This mistake usually comes in two forms. The first form is leaving out the preposition to after listen, such as saying, "I love to listen music when I cook dinner."
And the second form is using hear when you actually mean listen, or using listen when you actually mean hear. They sound similar, but their meanings are quite distinct.
Let us talk about the missing word to first. Just like explain to me, the verb listen always requires to whenever an object follows it immediately.
I have a hilarious story about this from last summer. My good friend Kenji from Tokyo came to visit me, and we decided to take a 5-hour road trip down the coastline.
A coastal road trip sounds absolutely wonderful. Did you listen to a lot of classic rock or jazz along the way?
We had a great playlist, but as soon as we got on the highway, Kenji plugged in his phone, turned to me, and said with enthusiasm, "Ryan, I really want to listen to this new album."
He forgot that tiny word to. It is so easy to drop it when you are speaking fast and feeling excited.
He did. I smiled and said, "Kenji, I would love to listen to that album with you, but you must always invite the word to along for the ride whenever you listen to music."
That is so clever, Ryan. Listen to music, listen to the radio, listen to a podcast, listen to your parents. Listen always needs its buddy to when pointing to something.
Now, what about the difference between hear and listen? This is where many students get confused because both verbs involve your ears and sound.
The difference comes down to action and intention. Hearing is passive. It happens automatically without you trying, simply because your ears are working.
For instance, if a dog barks outside your window right now, you hear it whether you want to or not. You do not have to pay attention or focus your mind.
On the other hand, listening is active. Listening means you are intentionally paying attention to the sounds, words, or music because you want to understand them.
Right now, all of our amazing listeners around the world are choosing to listen to our podcast. You are actively tuning your mind to our voices.
We are so grateful that you choose to listen to us every week. Just remember, you hear a noise unexpectedly, but you listen to a speech or song intentionally.
Now let us turn our attention to mistake number 4. This mistake happens very frequently when people go shopping or ask about prices in stores.
This mistake involves mixing up words like expensive, cost, and price. Common errors include asking, "How much cost this?" or saying, "The price is very expensive."
Yes. Learners often blend the question structures together, resulting in sentences like, "how much it costs," without using the auxiliary verb does.
Back when I was in university, I worked part-time as a sales associate at a cozy shoe shop downtown to help pay for my textbooks and rent.
Working in retail must have provided you with endless opportunities to talk with tourists and international shoppers from all around the world.
It really did! One Saturday afternoon, a tourist from France walked up to the register, held up a pair of beautiful leather boots, and asked, "Excuse me, how much cost this boot?"
That is such a logical attempt because in many European languages, the verb for cost comes right after how much without any extra words needed.
It makes total sense. But in English, when we use the verb cost in a question, we must include the helping verb does. So you say, how much does this cost?
Or even simpler, you can drop the verb cost completely and just ask, how much is this? That is short, natural, and super easy for beginners to use anywhere.
I always recommend using how much is this when you travel. Whether you are buying fresh fruit at a street market or a coffee at a cafe, it always works perfectly.
Another crucial detail to keep in mind is the difference between expensive and high. An object can be expensive, but a price itself cannot be expensive.
That is such an important distinction. People often say, the price of this coat is very expensive, but native speakers would say, the price is very high, or the coat is expensive.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Price goes with high or low, while the item itself goes with expensive or cheap. Keeping those paired correctly makes a huge difference.
So next time you go shopping, you can confidently ask, how much is this shirt? And if it costs too much, you can politely say, oh, that shirt is a bit expensive for me.
Now, let us move on to our fifth and final mistake for today. This is a big one that causes endless confusion for English learners. Borrow versus lend.
Oh, borrow and lend. These two verbs describe the exact same transaction, but they view it from opposite perspectives depending on who is giving and who is receiving.
Because they are so closely linked, students constantly mix them up and say things like, can you borrow me your car this weekend? Or I need to lend some money from the bank.
I used to have so much trouble with similar action pair verbs when I was studying secondary languages in high school. The direction of the action can be tricky.
Do you have a personal story about mixing up borrow and lend back when you were younger, Mia?
I certainly do. Back in high school, I was taking a history exam one rainy afternoon. Right in the middle of the test, my blue pen suddenly ran out of ink completely.
Oh no, having your pen die in the middle of an exam is every student's worst nightmare. What did you do?
I panicked slightly, turned around to my friend Sarah, who was sitting behind me, and whispered quietly, Sarah, can you please borrow me an extra pen?
And how did Sarah react when you asked her using the wrong verb?
She handed me a smooth red pen with a soft smile and whispered back after the exam, Mia, I can lend you a pen, but you are the one who needs to borrow it.
That was such a nice and gentle way for her to teach you the difference right when you needed it most.
It really was. She explained it so simply. To borrow means to take something from someone temporarily, while to lend means to give something to someone temporarily.
Here is a simple trick I share with all of my beginner students to help them remember. Connect the verb borrow with the verb take, and connect the verb lend with the verb give.
Borrow equals take, lend equals give. Both words start with different letters, but that simple mental pairing makes choosing the right word effortless.
So if you are taking an item, ask, can I borrow this? And if you are giving an item, say, I can lend this to you. Once you practice it a few times, it becomes second nature.
Now that we have covered all 5 common mistakes, let us do a quick, cozy review together so you can lock these rules into your memory.
Number 1. Always use the verb to be when talking about your age. Say, I am 25 years old, never, I have 25 years.
Number 2. Always use the preposition to when using explain with a person. Say, please explain this to me, never, explain me this.
Number 3. Remember to say, I listen to music with the word to. And remember that listening is active, while hearing is passive.
Number 4. Ask, how much is this, or how much does this cost? And remember that prices are high or low, while items are expensive or cheap.
And number 5. Remember that borrow means take and lend means give. Ask, can I borrow your umbrella? Or say, I can lend you my umbrella.
Look at how much we covered today. By making these 5 small adjustments to your speech, your English will sound instantly clearer, more natural, and much more confident.
And please remember, making mistakes is a completely normal and necessary part of becoming fluent in any language. Be patient and kind with yourself every single day.
The most important thing is to keep practicing, keep speaking, and keep enjoying the process of learning. Every conversation you have is a step forward.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us today, everyone. We hope these personal stories and simple grammar tips made your learning experience enjoyable.
Until next time, keep listening, keep practicing, stay curious, and we will see you very soon in our next episode of Easy English Conversations. Bye, everyone.